reading, writing, arithmetic. We will show you how it sticks. That's how it goes at LessonGram.
Well, welcome to our kitchen table podcast discussing music education for senior adults. My name is Marlene Cooper Williams, and I'm the founder of LessonGram.com. And these are my three wonderful close friends, and we are all seniors and proud of it. We're also very musical and involved in music in different forms and different instruments, and have some of us have been teachers, and some are currently teachers like myself, and music's a very important part of our lives, and we're here today to inspire our fellow senior adults to finally take the plunge and learn an instrument, or sing, or dance, or do anything musical and creative that will keep our brains healthy and strong, and especially in this aging process. So I want to introduce, I will just do a very brief introduction of myself, and then we'll go around the table here, and you'll know who we're talking with. Again, my name is Marlene, and I have had, this is my fourth music education company that I have been involved with for, more years than I care to admit, but I'll admit it, 50 plus years. Still teaching piano to about 30 students per week, and being administratively involved in LessonGram because I believe very strongly in the health and benefits that music education provides us. This is my friend Carol Gold. Carol, would you tell us a little bit about your life?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so if you see that I talk funny, you'll understand. I started learning instruments when I was really, really young, but unfortunately, I never continued with the education, and I should have, because I realize now, all these years later, how important it is. I like to act. I like to sing, mostly comedic tunes. I'm learning the very beginnings of learning the ukulele, and I have secured a keyboard.
Oh, you have?
So I have.
Oh,
I have.
Well, folks, this is my newest victim.
That's right. I've secured a keyboard because I really like to really learn the piano. I know some of the basics, but just the very rudimentary things. I think that learning anything is good for the mind, especially for the aging mind. I also know that if you've done something for a long time, a lot of times at our stage in life, you get bored with it and you want to learn something new. And it's so healthy for an older person to take up something new.
Right.
I craft. I do a lot of sewing and stuff. But it's kind of like I've done that for years and years and years, and now I want to move on to something
Well,
else.
I have to learn how to craft then, because I've done music for years and years and years, but I'm not bored with music.
No, I will never.
Well, music is different because there's so many different genres in music, and there's so many different, avenues to go through. And and music crafting is a little bit different. But you're always working with your hands, creating the same thing. But it's all on the arts and creative side of things.
Yes, it taps into that side of our brain. Mm-hmm. So, Diana, let's introduce you. This is Diana Rice, and she's another member of the squad here.
Hi, she told you my name is Diana. I'm the oldest of the group here. And when I was young, I was a dancer, but I was always told that I couldn't sing and I should mouth the words. So I never really got into music, except I was a teacher and I loved teaching music. And at that time, I bought a piano and I could play little children's songs, but that was it to pass the music part of my education. And I owned that piano for 65 years and never really learned to play it. So now I have an ukulele, a guitar, and a keyboard. And I am determined to play it, even though my vision is low vision. I am trying to figure out how I can read the music so that Marlene can teach me.
Well, and you said the Braille Institute is helping you discover a way to magnify the music.
I hope so, yes.
And if they can't do, I know they'll be able to help. But also we can also find arrangements of music that I can teach you that come printed quite large, and I have seen that. So they actually call it Big Note.
Okay, we'll try it.
So it's
clear.
It's Big Note, and it will be, and it's at a level where you should be anyway if you're just beginning. So you know what? Nothing has to stand in our way.
No, I am determined.
And this is Doreen Blair. Doreen is one of the finest violin teachers I know.
Thank you.
I don't know too many anyway.
Oh, thanks.
And a very good and dear friend. And we came together as two musicians, actually, and wound up becoming very good friends with a love of music and just a love of life.
And each other.
And of each other, yes, and our families and so on. So we started with music, but with music you grow and you absorb life through music, and there's nothing more than I can say about how enriching it is for us. Doreen, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yes, I'm from Boston, but hopefully you won't notice that in my accent. I am a musician, as Marlene was saying. I went to conservatory for violin. I love teaching the violin. I have a few students that are just wonderful. I also started a chorus in Leisure Village. Now, we are in an area that has a lot of older people, and everyone here is involved in the chorus, and I believe that the people that have come to join us all feel that singing is important in their lives. That it's something they used to do, and it's something they want to continue to do, or they want to learn to do. Some of them don't read music, and we are going to teach them how to read music.
Oh my.
I believe that's important. It creates new neurons in your brain, and it's important, as we've all been talking about, for seniors to continue to grow their capabilities and their intellectual stretching abilities. And I also taught in the school systems for 30 years, and I went to a new music shop yesterday, and I found myself, it was like being at Disneyland, and that's what music does for you.
Yes, I always say that for me, it's the piano store. For you, it was the violin store. For me, the piano store, and I owned a piano store for 7 years, and they were like puppies. I get a piano that would come into the store, and I'd really love it, and I'd really connect with it, and then somebody would want to buy it, and I'm like, oh no, I want to buy my piano. That piano, I don't. Marlene, you're in the business to sell these things. They can't all be puppies. So
well, the feeling I had yesterday in the violin stores, I was covered. I mean, the place is covered with violins and violas and cellos, and I just thought, oh my goodness, I could live here. I could just live here.
Well, that's what happens when you own a retail store. You wind up living in it.
Yes.
Because I owned a craft store.
You did?
I did. I owned a craft store, and that was my happy place. I loved going to work.
Well, yes, I know. And the other thing I wanted to say about expanding, even though we are musicians and who we've participated in a lot, on the way to Glendale yesterday, I heard a mandolin playing a 4-part violin piece.
Yes.
And I'm determined now to learn to play the mandolin, because it's it's similar.
So we had my brothers, and he actually played the mandolin. He played the sitar.
Oh, that's an interesting
Very
instrument.
interesting
That's a
instrument.
difficult instrument
Very
to play.
difficult instrument. Well, he's a string bass aficionado.
And that's a great point, because once you learn an instrument in a family, you have a lot of leeway to be able to then switch to a slightly different instrument in that family. I can play violin and viola, a little bit of cello, and now I want to play the mandolin.
Well, piano is piano.
And guitar.
There's no other family. I mean, you could play the organ, but
The organ and the harpsichord.
well, those things are kind of like they're gone. The organ is it used to be a wonderful instrument, but it's disappeared. I think you'll find them in some churches, of course, and some beautiful big pipe organs in places. But for the most part, you know, they're not they've been replaced by digital pianos, which then can simulate the sound of the organ or your strings or whatever, but to some degree.
Not really.
But
But yeah, it doesn't really sound
It's
like
not
it.
the
What's
same.
great about the organ, but I think it may be beyond us at this point, is that every part of your body is working.
Oh yeah,
It's
Well,
two hands,
But
two
the piano, though, it has the same. You have the same issue with if you're using the pedals properly. You have that soft pedal over on the left, and the one in the middle is actually, it does function, but not on many pianos. As a matter of fact, in the Asian communities, they don't even build pianos with 3 pedals. They build them with 2. And I have a very quick story that I like to share that somebody might find kind of funny. When I owned my store, people that came in, if we had a 2-pedal grand piano on the floor, they would look at that piano and they'd say, don't think I want this piano because it only has 2 pedals. Well, I explained to them that the middle pedal, which is called a sostenuto pedal, it holds part of the keyboard and the other part it doesn't hold. And there's reasons for how to operate it and why we operate it that way. But anyway, they didn't trust that piano. So I was telling a friend of mine in the industry about that, and he said, I'm going to build something that is a package for these 2-pedal pianos. It's going to be a phony piano for the phony pedal, a phony pedal for the middle. And he says it's not going to do a darn thing. But we can put them on those pianos and they'll be happy and they'll never know the difference. So that's just shades of the piano industry. But anyway, you know, and we all have in this industry, in the retail, or you know, the music education industry is fairly small. You know, we sort of all know each other, even if you're halfway across the country. If you've been teaching for a long time and been involved in projects as I have, it's an industry that we should be proud of. It takes a long time for, you know, seasoned teachers to develop a lot of skill, and to be able to work with students of, I say, music knows no age. You could be 4 or 104, and you can still play an instrument.
You can still start an instrument.
Well, yes, and it doesn't matter the level to which you achieve, or people think that they have to, like adult students will wake up one day and say, I want to play the piano, and think that they're going to be able to do it tomorrow. There are ways to teach. There are special materials that we use for older beginners. There is actually a book I use. It's called, it's a piano, and I'll use it on you guys. For the older beginner is actually the title of it.
Oh, wow.
And it has it's a method that has been used for a lot of students over the years, and it's very effective and gets the job done quickly. See, I'm all about that. I think that you know, that we don't have to do a lot of scales and exercises and, you know, things that we do when you're 10 years old versus what we're doing when we're 70 years old, because we want to be able to play old standards. We want to play tunes that maybe from the 60s, you know, some of the Beatles stuff. some rock and roll,
Or the 40s or the
or
50s.
the 40s or the 50s. Yes, yes. Whatever we.
Whatever era you come from.
Right.
or even if we were coming in and out of different eras,
Right.
classics. There's so much music to learn to play, and it doesn't have to be miserable and tedious. And we want to have fun.
And for violins, there are so many different styles of music that people play. People play country, they play
Fiddle.
classical,
Uh-huh.
they play fiddle, they play, and
Something with a plink, plink, plunk.
plink, plank, plunk.
I learned.
Yeah, got it.
I used to play that in the bathroom.
Oh,
My mother.
That's a good place to play that.
Well, yes, that's
This
very.
is the resonance.
And this way, my mother didn't walk around like this while I was playing.
Well, Carol,
my students don't scratch. I will tell you right now.
I had a student one time who had to take his lessons and do his practicing in the garage in their house. And when it was hot outside, I had to give the lesson when it was like 100 degrees outside, and here in California, at a piano that was in a garage. And I asked the family, I said, "Why is this piano out here?" So we don't have to listen to him practice. I said, "Well, why am I here? Do you want your child to learn?" "Well, yeah, we think so, It's like, okay, I'm not coming back. Because we want to have,
He's not going to pick up too much of
no,
this being a good thing.
No, and when 100 degrees, he's not going out into the garage.
Right.
no,
to practice
no,
either.
no.
And that's not good for the
So,
piano
I was
either.
going to say it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it was probably better in the bathroom.
Well, and the violin is movable. I didn't have to,
There's a little
if no one
less-
was home, I could plug it.
Well,
play
now they
it.
have keyboards, so they kept it.
My brother was a drummer.
Oh, yeah.
We had to listen to that, and then we got that rubber pad and said, "Please practice on this sometimes when I'm studying."
Oh, yeah.
But drum circles are fantastic.
Oh, yes.
And fantastic to do as a community.
Yes.
Well, we should do that one of these days. We should have a drum
that would be
circle.
fun. That would be a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
yes. Yeah.
My brother, my middle brother,
And,
is totally.
and somebody has to bring the
double
wine.
I'll bring
Well,
the
you
wine.
have to have wine to do a drum
I'll bring the
Well,
wine.
it just adds something to a drum
okay.
circle.
I'll bring the wine.
No, but what's wonderful about a drum circle is, first of all, people are sitting in a circle. They're given different rhythms that fit together, and the community is doing something that creates this
Right.
unbelievable atmosphere of not only abilities, but there's a bond that happens. And I think that this is one of the things that we haven't touched on yet, and that is people who are in theater and people who are in choruses and in orchestras, they become family. There's something about music and creative activities that make that that working together, it goes
it's
beyond
amazing.
work. It becomes family.
But even if you sit in your house by yourself, or in a room by yourself, because there are a lot of assisted living communities or independent living communities that and people live in today that would like very much to have access to an instrument and to instruction. And of course, at LessonGram, we provide through online and virtual teaching. And people say virtual, no, we have a wonderful way of teaching virtually. I developed this system of teaching and through COVID, and after COVID was over or diminished, my students they're still online with me because it's so efficient. But in any event, there are people that really are hesitant to go to a location, or to have strangers come to their house and teach them, or and would like to have virtual lessons, and we make it very seamless for people. And they can still practice in the comfort and privacy of their rooms or their little apartments without it being difficult and challenging in any way. So the whole point of this is that we are trying to encourage senior adults to get involved with music education. And yes, it does bond you together with other people. So let's say you're in an assisted living community or independent living, or in a place like where we live, where we all have our own homes, but we get together in communal spaces to share music together. It bonds people together. It absolutely does. And there's a way of communicating. As a matter of fact, I don't know, you folks out there that are listening to this podcast, if you have any musical background at all, you'll see the Roman numerals 1, 4, 5. In music, the 1, 4, 5 music progression really is what you sing when you're singing Amen in church or any liturgical music. And I was driving down the freeway one day, and I was behind a car that had a license plate that said 145 on it. And I knew right away who that guy was, that he was a musician. And I gave him a little honk of the horn and gave him the thumbs up. And he knew that I knew who he was.
Oh.
So what was it about your children and seeing you on stage?
Okay, when a child sees an adult on stage playing a role or singing a song or doing, whatever it is they're doing, it gives them the impetus and the need to say, well, I guess it's okay if my grandmother can get up and do it, why can't I? And the story that goes with that is my grandson was 10, and we went to a festival out by Santa Barbara, I think it was. They have a French festival, and there's a bunch of them. They're wonderful. And this one was a Jewish festival, just coincidentally. And there was a group of people, all older people, dancing. And they were doing the Mizzaloo and the line dancing kind of stuff. My grandson looked, and the next thing you know, he jumped up, and there he was at the end of the line holding this older lady's hand. And he stayed up there dancing for about half an hour. He didn't want to leave, and they were fine to have him. I mean, he was listening and watching and doing the dance. So I think that it has a lot of different ramifications, and I want my kids to see me active.
Right.
I don't want them to see me sitting around. I sit around enough when nobody's around, and I don't want them to see me be stagnant.
Right. Well, I so agree. I think that's so important. It's the legacy that we are leaving behind someday. Is what we've been able to accomplish. The spirited lifestyle that we live. And what we're accomplishing is, I think, inspirational for our children, and not only for our immediate family and extended family, but for me as a teacher of so many years, how many people I have taught over these decades and decades, and people I'm still in touch with, and they even come back, and they come back with their children, and they call and they say, "Are you still teaching?" And I say, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am." And we have a little saying in the piano teaching business: piano teachers don't retire. We just die at our piano.
Yeah.
with the last chord. and let's just talk for a moment about academics. And this is right up Doreen's and Diana's alley because of the teaching you guys have done. Music is so important for enhancing the academic process, right?
Right. So yes, absolutely. Not only music, but art and dance and anything creative. We have two sides of our brain. One side works on the academic side things, but you can tire something out and not be effective anymore. So for instance, children who tell me that they have 6 hours of homework, I said, well, that is the perfect opportunity for you to do about 45 minutes of your homework and then 15 minutes of practice. And you will find that when you go back to your homework, you will be refreshed and you will be ready to take on that homework again.
Yes.
With a fresh mind and a relaxed brain and a creative brain. All of a sudden, you might see a math problem that you've been working on, and all of a sudden it becomes clear to you. Why? Because while you were doing that creative thing, the other side had the opportunity to continue working on that and came up with a solution. And that happens all the time. And I really encourage my students to do that. And it's a way for them to see their homework as not as overwhelming. If you give them an opportunity to be creative and give your brain a rest.
Yeah.
And a lot of them really do it and feel better. I have a story, actually, when I was teaching 6th grade strings. We had to take the students out of class, and that's always contentious. But I had one teacher who said to me, I love when you come. When I get that student back, he's a special needs student, and that hour after you have done the lesson is his most productive hour in the week.
And that's what they're lacking in the schools today, because when I started teaching umpteen years ago, we had art teachers come into the classroom, we had music teachers, and when they were no longer with us, I would continue that, because I had some students who were more creative through art and learned through art, and others through music. And at that point, I mean, even though I told I couldn't sing, I would teach them music. I would use the harpsichord. And it was very important for them to have that break, in the classroom. And that's the same today. If you, like you said, your child has a lot of homework, give them that break.
Right. Encourage them to use a creative opportunity. I was one of those students who doodled in class and got, stop doodling and listen. Well, what the teacher didn't understand is my learning style was
Doodling.
I had to do something physically, because I cannot sit for a very long time without feeling uncomfortable in my body. And so I would doodle, and that's the way I would listen. And we need to allow everyone to do that. What's interesting is people always think, well, kids have learning styles. You know what? People have learning styles.
Right.
And learning styles carry out all through your life. And so that we at LessonGram are not going to teach you the same way we teach someone else.
Right, everyone is an individual.
Because everyone has their own learning style and their own way of learning. And we are creative enough to figure that out.
I had
and
two
to know
different
that.
two different children that way. One was very audio. He didn't have to sit and he would listen, and boy, he would pick everything up. The other one had to read and see
Very
it.
visual.
So that's
And
how we are as adults.
Yes, and there are students who maybe are mathematical, and then
That's
we
me.
in music can say, okay, let's look at all the mathematical stuff that music affords you, and you can really understand these rhythms where other people. So and I think that there isn't an understanding of those aspects of a human being, of how, and you can also change as you get older. So you might have had one learning style, but your brain has changed and adjusted, and there's something else going on. So it's really interesting for us to.
Well, as creative as we can be, for us at LessonGram, I love to create, and here I am at my advanced age, still very excited about creating for not just senior adults, but for the children as well. We're doing a new program. It's called Poetry in Motion, and we can offer this to seniors also. But we have a language arts teacher who is working with children and going in a direction with poetry or story writing beautiful stories, and then I will take those. I and the other people, composition teachers on staff, take these stories and poems, and we interpret them musically, and we also teach notation to the students, because that's a dying art. Today, if you want to write music and you have a digital piano and a computer, you can get a program, plug it in, and whatever you're playing, it writes it for you automatically.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the skill that it takes to do notation is very important, because that's all part of the fundamentals of music. And but anyway, so we're going to be doing this interpretation program, poetry. We call it Poetry in Motion, and it's a very, very creative program that I know will be so beneficial to young people and also to older people as well, because we communicate our feelings through music, and we can put them into words, we can put it into music, and wow, there it is. It's everything. So be on the lookout for it, folks. It's coming. It's coming to your town.
And I'm looking forward to your challenge teaching me who has a visual problem.
Well,
So
so
will-
does your teacher. I relate, but you know what? We don't have to let anything. If we have a visual issue, it's usually our audio ability is
It is.
enhanced.
It's heightened.
Yes,
And
mine is.
and music is an audio art. It is not a visual art.
Right.
So the challenge of having your inability to see certain things, it doesn't bother me at all.
Good.
No, we'll certainly work through it. And Carol, you're another story, because this is a lady that has one of the best a sense of humor beyond, and so much fun, and so much spirit, and just a willingness to learn. That everyone is individual. Everyone is an individual, and that's what has kept me teaching for 55 years, because I never get tired of this. You know, there's a reason I still do this. It is so remarkably satisfying. I look at it, see, yeah, sure, there are days, you know, when you come home and you say, oh my gosh, did I really have a student that did that? And but for the most part, every day is really joyful. You know, when you see the improvement and the connection that students, whether you're 4 or 104. I did have a 104-year-old. Remember her? That lady over at the assisted living, her name, I can't remember, Ruthie or something was her name. She apologized to me one day and she said, I'm so sorry, but I have a little trouble with my eyes. And I said, you know, you do know you're 104? and you know, it's okay if you have a little trouble with your eyes. But she was so apologetic, and but she was there in the class.
I don't know about you, but every time I think about my age and I think about how I feel, I mean, I could be 35 the way I feel.
Oh, I
Up
think a
here,
date.
up here, I'm 35.
Oh
Right.
yeah, hell yeah. The rest of me, 135.
Well,
Well, that's why we let you sit at the piano.
That's exactly that is exactly why. See, dance is never going to be my thing. It used to be. I was a really good dancer, but not anymore. But you know, I have to say, I never like you ladies have formally taught classes, and I've never taught formally because that wasn't my, you know, what I was doing. But I have taught individuals my crafting skills. You know, I can teach you to do anything. And I had a lady that said she wanted to learn how to make a rug. Wait, get this. I said, okay, I can teach you how to make a rug. No, you can't. So I said, okay, are you challenging me to teach you how to make a rug? Or, you know, what are we playing a game? No, she said, I really want to learn, but I don't think I can. And I said, but trust me on this one. You picked a good thing. You picked rugs. It's really easy. Okay, it's directional, but that's about the only skill you need. And you need to have a little bit of muscle in your arm to pull the hook. But I said, I can teach you, you know, how to do that. And she said, okay. She came into my shop. I had a knitting and needle workshop. She came into the shop, and I spent about 45 minutes at a session with her. And before you know it, she had this gorgeous rug to hang on. I mean, the yarn's already cut, so you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
You have a tool,
Yeah.
and the canvas has holes in it.
Right.
You know, I
Goes
mean,
through.
and it's printed, so it's like coloring. And I kept telling her, remember coloring books? That's what you're doing. You're just coloring with yarn instead of with crayons. Okay. Now she followed all the things, and she got into it. She really got into it. She could pull that hook better than me. and I taught her how to do it. And so she became the rug maven. I mean, this lady would make anything into a rug. She must have had her walls must have been soundproof with rug stuff. But I do find when I was teaching people, I mean, I've taught people to cook. I've taught people to follow a recipe. Not everybody can follow a recipe. Not just open a book. I can open a book and say, okay, I got this. Too much of that. And,
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that. Okay, I don't think it's like a special talent, but I think it's just
It's a learning
feeling. It's a learning style, and some people can only learn auditorily. They have to listen. They have to hear it.
Well, we make it very simple for students. Again, it doesn't really matter the age, but you have to be able to count to 5 on one hand.
Most
5 on this hand. You have to know this is left, this is right.
Oh boy, both hands. I'll have to practice.
But we go very gently with putting the hands together for the piano. Now, if you're blowing an instrument like a flute, any monophonic instrument, you're only sending out one note at a time. Obviously, on the piano, it's harmonics, and you've got 10 fingers. You could use all 10 if necessary. It's rare that you have to, but if you you keep it very simple and you don't overteach it. And this is what I think scares people when they see some maestro sit down at the piano and go nuts over it. They think, oh, I'll never be able to do that. Right. But if you learn a chord and a little bit of right hand, you've got a piece of music. And within the first lesson or two, I always have students playing right away.
Well, I'm ahead of the game. I can play chopsticks.
But
But
not for me. So we know that people are capable of learning at any age. We should allow ourselves to experience the excitement and the beauty of music education, in 55 plus settings, or wherever you're sitting. If you're sitting on the mountain and you're 55 plus and you want to, play a little guitar, that's all wonderful. We'd love to certainly help you with that, and you'll find out that virtual learning is so easy. And I'd like to just close with what do you guys envision for the next few years of your life? Carol, let me ask you that.
I envision life to go on pretty much, the way it is, to continue to try to do all the extracurricular, I guess you'd call it, things that we do, the plays, the singing. I'm excited about learning how to play the piano, or the keyboard or whatever, and the ukulele. I'm being active. That is, I never want to be that person that just sits and does nothing. And sometimes I find myself in that position even now, that I am that person that sits, I have nothing to do. I'm bored with this, or I don't want to do this, or I don't have, I just took a job. I'm working part-time.
That's great.
But, I like it. It's what I know how to do, etc. It's good for me.
Yes. Doreen, how about you? What do you want to do in the next, she's overzealous, folks. So she'll do everything and do it well.
Thank you. I do want to continue playing, of course, and I want to rekindle some of the skills I've lost because years of children raising and all of the things that come with teaching, you begin to neglect yourself a little bit, and it's time to stop neglecting yourself. I love the acting and singing that we've got the opportunity to do here, and teaching more students and the chorus that we started. I'm really excited to direct and continue with that. And I think learn new things, because if we don't learn new things, as you are both doing, I do want to play the mandolin. I want to continue trying to rekindle my Dutch. I want to learn Spanish. So there's an ever lifelong learning creed that I think that we all aspire to. And that is the way to keep your brain and your bodies going. I know that I have to go to an exercise class.
Oh, ow. Well, moving right along. Diana, how about you?
Well, like I said, I'm older than all of you, and I am very active, and I want to continue being active. Well, maybe I shouldn't be as active, but yes, I want to continue being active, and like my friends say, my hand is in every pot, and that's what keeps me going and makes my children happy, because then I don't depend on them for everything.
Yeah.
My daughter will say to me, "Mom, you're too busy. When are we going to see you?"
No,
I get that every day. You know,
that's
you're not home. Oh, you can't talk on the phone. You're at a meeting, or you're at a book club, or you're here. Okay, we'll talk to you later. I mean, that's.
But I think that's what they admire, really.
Yes.
And for me, when LessonGram was created, it was created during. I came out of semi-retirement. I was never retired. I was always teaching privately, teaching piano. As I said, I had 3 music education companies that I created from the bottom up over many years. And then the third company, when I sold that, I was down to just teaching privately. And then I got itchy again, which as an entrepreneur, that happens. And so and then COVID struck. So I said, well, and everything was shut down. We put everybody on virtual lessons, which I had to learn real fast how to do that, and created a really good program where we were actually doing recitals online with the grandparents in New York were able to watch the kids in California at a recital. So that was very cool. And then, so LessonGram became a very important part of my life. That academically, the kids in school were suffering deeply with learning loss, and we realized that early on, and we set to the task of putting together a staff of teachers that were capable of working virtually and making this very seamless and very available to people, keeping it affordable, keeping it convenient, and fun also. And here we are not today, as we roll this out, we're working with people, all the academics, science, math, and so on, trying to meld it together with arts in education, because it's all part of, it can all be connected together. And this makes for a more well-rounded student, a child, who needs both sides of the brain happening. And I just want to continue doing that and having the strength and the creative nature to continue, where I can formulate some wonderful programs that will help a lot of children and leave this legacy.
And seniors.
And mostly, yes, today we have a big focus on the senior adult portion of our society, because we want to be strong seniors. And so I'm going to leave you with that thought. Please give us a call and let us help you, whether you're in assisted living, independent living, or just a senior on your own that wants to, and has always wanted to play an instrument. And even if it's the kazoo, we'll find you a kazoo teacher.
I can do that.
So thank you for being part of our Kitchen Table podcast on music for senior adults.
Reading, writing, arithmetic, will show you how it sticks. That's how it goes at LessonGram. At LessonGram, we'll take your call. A one-stop shop, we do it all. 'Cause at LessonGram, we know the way. And when you want to call, please don't stall. Learning is fun. We'll match you up and help you out with that perfect someone. So start your day, come on along. Just can't wait to sing this song. Brought to you